rise. Hear ye, hear ye. Hamblen County Commission meeting is now in session. The Honorable Howard Shipley presiding. Please remain standing.
This time I'd like to call to order the July 21st, 2022 meeting of the Hamblen County Legislative Body. And I'm going to ask Commissioner Stepp if he would lead us in our prayer, please.
Let us pray. Precious Lord and Father in heaven, we thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you, Lord, for how to get here, Lord, to make decisions that need to be made, Lord, for this county. Pray for each other. Pray for the decisions that we make, Lord. You know, it affects many of the people. Just pray for today, Lord. Just pray for the lost. Lead and guide us, Lord. In Jesus' name, this precious name of Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner Stepp. Commissioner Gordon, would you lead us in our pledge, please?
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Commissioners, if you have not already done so, please turn your mics on. And at this time, we'll do the roll call.
I've not signed in yet. It's not going in.
Uh-oh.
Thanks.
Broke it already.
Yep.
Ain't broke it yet.
Well, I didn't, yeah. Uh-oh. That's what I get. Thank you. Let's see. Screen. I guess it'll come up in a minute. It's not screen coming up. I wonder what the screens.
We have 10 present, 4 absent.
We do have a quorum present to conduct business. At this time,
Oh, wow.
are
Yeah,
we
it's
down
not.
again?
The screen.
I think you're okay. I think you're okay.
Commissioner Stepp, Chairman of the Calendar Rules Committee, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Item 3A, approval of consent calendar items. I put that in form of motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote the motion, please.
Item 3A, 11 yea, 0 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 3B, approval of regular calendar items. Chairman, I'll put that in form of motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote the motion, please.
Item 3B, 11 yea, 0 nay.
The motion is approved.
That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Stepp. The chair at this time would entertain a motion that we approve the consent calendar.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Doty has moved. And Mr. Horner has seconded the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote the motion, please.
Item 4A, 11 yea, 0 nay.
The motion is approved. At this time, we would receive comments from the audience regarding items that are on the agenda. If you would come to the podium, state your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Florence Kegley, and I live at 2948 Gully Lane in Whitesburg. I'm here with my neighbors to encourage this commission to please pass the resolution, which is item 9A on tonight's agenda. Myself and our neighbors have spent many months and years trying to get the Planning Commission and our county commissioner to help not only our neighborhood problems, but further property owners all over, future property owners all over our county. As of now, our two problems on Gully Lane and Mountain Road are being solved, and I thank this commission for what they've done so far. As of now, this resolution tonight that is given to you that's on the agenda, that is get the ability to stop violations before it gets out of hand in other neighborhoods. I thank you for your cooperation, and I courteously ask that you vote yes on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have anyone else who wishes to address the commission?
Gwen Holden, 8150 West Point Drive. Used to live at 2343 Sulphur Springs Road. All kinds of violations going on in my community for years. And I think people that are living in campers that are hooked up to sewer and water, they should be grandfathered in just like the junkyards, just like y'all did with me. It's not fair. You just got different strokes for different ends of the town. And you know what? It's not right. I am a tax-paying citizen. Some of those people that live out there that put up with all those violations out in Road Junction, they are tax-paying citizens. It stinks. You got different strokes for different folks, different strokes for different ends of towns. If you're going to do one, do them all. Road Junction has become a dumping ground for everything. And Fernwood is now next, and then Witt is going to be next. That's what you use it for. It's bad. And I'm not here to get vengeance. Vengeance is mine, thus saith the Lord. I will repay. Not Gwen Holden. I pay my taxes just like everybody else. If they're set up with sewer and water, leave them alone just like you did the junkyards.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else who wishes to address the commission?
Mike John Cox, 3121 Three Springs Road. I just want to talk about the referendum on the RV, how you classify it. I came down to the courthouse about 2 months ago to inquire about putting in a tiny home, cabin, something that my son wanted, put on my property. I've got the land. I was going to put in the septic tank, put in the drain field, bring a water drop, bring in proper electric. Now, I sent out 12 letters to the commissioners. I got one response. You say put them in a campground or a mobile home park. Why can't the landowner improve his property with the same amenities to take care of? I mean, some people have to live in a camper. I understand there's one nice one I followed or passed coming down here tonight. Now, what are you going to do? Tell them they got to move it? Then there's 4 more down there that are in a cesspool. You know, there's no reason you can't enforce what you've got on the books for zoning or code violations. You know, I hate to think, you know, where all their gray water's going, let alone their black water from those campers. But if that's the best a person can do, and if the landowner is willing to improve their property, I see it as a win-win for the county, because you are definitely going to raise the property value, which in turn is going to raise the taxes. So I just urge you to consider that not all campgrounds want these old campers. Not mobile home parks either don't want some of those campers. You know, I'm familiar with, I was in that type of business for 34 years. I owned a campground. I know what a crap hole is. And I know what needs to go, what needs to stay, what you need to allow. And, you know, you don't need additions that are twice the size of a camper. And you don't need unsanitary conditions. But I urge you to consider that leave it up to the landowner to do with their property what they want within zoning and health department regulations. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have anyone else?
Edna Green, 4981 Cameron Road. I'd like to address 9A and 9B. If they have a septic tank and they have water, I don't understand why. That's the best some people can do in the economy we're in. Why do you want to harass them? If they have those two things, they should be left alone. Now, unfortunately, you don't exactly streamline your actions. You need to do a little bit better. You need to think of the folks that have lost everything they've got and are doing what they can do. According to the Word of God, we're supposed to help them up, not knock them down. Now, you've also got your dangerous dog amendment. It's long overdue. I just hope that you are voting on something that will offer relief, especially to the folks that have had their children chased to the front door by dogs, and some of the older ones my age that have been bitten with no recourse. There needs to be a change. You need to develop a backbone and do something about it. You've had a Alaskan backbone in the last 4 years. It's time you found one. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have anyone else who wishes to address the commission?
Bonnie Bullington, 317 Stubblefield Street. You want to do away with the campers. What about all the old, ratty, run-down mobile homes in the county? I can see doing away with campers that are trashed up and not fit to live in, but I know of nice campers around in the county that if I had no place to live, I'd be happy to live in. I would thank God that I had that roof over my head. Now, in committee, it was talked about, well, we need to do away with them because, for instance, there's a camper in Russellville that's dealing drugs. Well, guess what? There's brick homes in Morristown that are dealing drugs. There's nice homes in Hamblen County that are dealing drugs. That camper is not what's causing the drugs to be dealt. And the people in this county, with all the taxes and everything, they can't afford the best. And if a homeowner has a camper on their property and it's taken care of and hooked up to sewer and water and electricity, I see nothing wrong with it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have anyone else who wishes to address the commission? Yes, sir.
Chris Black, 7335 Eveline Circle in Talbot. I'd just like to address item 9A, as everyone else has.
I think they need to.
You know, I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to make the county a little bit nicer, actually quite a bit nicer by removing some of this trash, or some of these homes that look like trash, if you will. However, we do have an affordable housing crisis in this county, and as you know, in Hamblen County, the average rent for a 3-bedroom home is $1,250. In neighboring counties, it's likely higher. And as I've met with folks from Talbot to Whitesburg and just about everywhere in between, I've heard stories, as I'm sure you guys have in your districts, about folks just barely getting by, especially because of this economy. And we can kind of disagree or agree as to who's at fault for that, but nonetheless, at the end of the day, it just seems, I don't want to say hypocritical, just like bad public policy. Let's just say that. When we know that we have an affordable housing crisis in the county, when folks are, some of them at least, are trying to make some respectable improvements to both the land and to the recreational vehicles in which they live, to make them, bring them up to par if they're not already, to try to make things harder on these folks. I just wonder where these folks are going to go live when we run them out of their RVs. As I've looked, they sure as heck can't afford an apartment if they're having to live in an RV right now, especially in this county or in East Tennessee. So I know that y'all have heard quite a bit about this, and I hope that you'll take these considerations into consideration as you decide how to vote on item 9A. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else who wishes to address the commission?
down. It's not the best copy, but it's the best I could do under short time constraints. I want to talk about the tax situation and moving money around from sanitation to paving. Of course, first off, you ended up with the fact that, by the way, that's dated April of 2002. The shot down was your plan to move money from the money appropriated for the landfill, $350,000, which you are required certainly if the landfill insists on it, which they have, the county has to pay that, not finance it, and certainly not the county could finance it, but you can't make the solid waste board pay for the financing, which is what Mayor Britton had attempted to do. But now I want to talk about the wheel tax, because that was one of the options brought up. 2001, the wheel tax is extended 1 year for a referendum in May 2002. Before that referendum, we're all running around with articles, hey, we're in great shape. County spending is under control. As trustee then, Britton said, they tell me that spending in county government is out of control. We're providing quality services for a reasonable price. It insults me for people to go out there and say that spending is out of control. Then, also in April, the headlines, pick your poison. It's either a wheel tax or a property tax. Those are the choices in the referendum. The referendum is held in May. It passes. Schools are relieved with wheel tax renewal. And here is the killer, and this is why people do not trust the government. August 2002, right before leaving office, the commission that had said, pick your poison, and of course that was the commission chairman, Maudie Briggs, Hamlin approves tax hike. That's a property tax hike of 15 cents. Now, I will go quickly because I want to read then what happened after all these property tax and everything. Audit of 2002, Crane, Thompson, and Jones. Messes in the audit. 920,000 more was spent than taken in.
Thank you. Your time is up. Anyone else who wishes to address the commission? Hearing none, then we'll proceed with business. Vice Chair Chris Shaw of the Finance Committee, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Item 6A, monthly checks, and I will put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote the motion, please.
Item 6A, 11 yea, 1 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 6B, Justice Center Project, B1, change order number 5. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote the motion, please.
Item 6B1, 9 yea, 3 nays.
The motion is approved.
Item 6B2, food service equipment purchase, and I will put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote the motion, please.
Item Item 6B2, 10 yea, 2 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 6B, item 6C, bid tabulation, the phone bid, and the contract. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Let's vote the motion then.
Item 6C, 11 yeas, 1 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 6D, bid tabulation for the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation Grant Administrator RFQ and contract, and I will put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion. Commissioner Neesmith, you are recognized.
Chris, what is that?
1 second. Let me go back to the packet.
Mayor, would you respond to that, please?
Grant Administrator.
Under the, Wayne, under the American Rescue Plan money, the federal money that local governments and state governments have been given, there is a water infrastructure program that the state is implementing, and we've been awarded about $4.5 million for water projects, and then we set aside of our money that we received about $1.1 million, so putting as match money for this grant. So there's water projects by the 3 utility districts, and then stormwater projects that we'll undertake that we want to contract with excuse me, East Tennessee Development District to administer the grants. So that's what this is all about.
Where's this water going, which people are going to be using the water in Hamblen County?
Well, these let's see, the projects by Russellville Whitesburg is in Lampkin Acres, replacing old water lines.
Okay.
The project for Alpha Talbot is in, I think it's the Quell Hollow area, and again, replacing water lines that are leaking. And then Witt Utility has 3 or 4 different lines on different streets that they're replacing.
Is some of that water going to be used for water lines going to Bush's Cannery?
No, that's a totally different project, different pot of money. That's all state money.
That's state money. Where's it going to headquarters, out of Marshtown? Where are they going to get the water from?
Well, the proposal's from Witt Utility.
From Witt Utility, yeah. I know at Witt, we pay the highest water of anybody. Alpha, Russellville, both of them get their water from the city of Marshtown. But South Marshtown, Witt's got the highest water bills of any of the districts. And I think a lot of that is from water lines they went out there and put in Bainbury in Jefferson County so they could have water, which I'm glad they got water. But that just ups the price of our water and the people that's on the Witt unit. So, and they got their own filter plant, you know, Witt does. So I thought that might have something to do with going down to Bush's. So, but it's dead.
Any more discussion?
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Hearing none, let's vote the motion, please. Commissioner Ward is left.
Where we at?
Item 6B, 11 yea, 0 nay.
Okay, the motion is approved.
Item 6E1, budget amendment, Fund 101, Sheriff's Department for $3,400. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? If not, then let's vote the motion.
Item 6E1, 11 yeas, 0 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 6E2, budget amendment, Fund 116, Garbage Sanitation Department, $30,000. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? If not, let's vote the motion, please.
Item 6E2, 11 yeas, 0 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 6E3, budget amendment for Fund 131, Highway Department, $30,000. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? If not, let's vote the motion, please.
6E3, 11 yeas, 0 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 6E4, budget amendment for Fund 128, Drug Use Abatement Fund, $176,500. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? If not, let's vote the motion, please.
Six E4, 11 yeas, 0 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 6F, Resolution 2218, a resolution amending the distribution of the local option sales tax for Hamblen County. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? If not, vote the motion, please.
6F, 11 yeas, 0 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 6F1, budget amendment for Fund 176, Highway Capital Projects, $250,000. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Commissioner D. Smith, you're recognized.
These two items, the budget amendment 176 for the Highway Capital Project and the one right below it for the garbage fund, are those, is that 250 for both of them or 250 for one?
It's what it does is it puts into the budget, the change of moving the 250,000 of sales tax
Okay.
to paving. That's what it does. Let's see,
For the highway or for the sanitation?
the first one, FI, or number one, is, that puts $250,000 into the highway construction line of the Highway Capital Projects Fund.
Okay.
And it increases the revenue, on the revenue side, $250,000. So there's an expense increase of $250 and a revenue increase of $250. That's the first one. And then the second one, dealing with the garbage and sanitation, it reduces the sales tax going to the sanitation fund and decreases the fund balance of the sanitation.
Is that for buying the other property?
No, that's because you're losing that sales tax, you're losing that revenue, means that your fund balance, your reserve will be less. Because you have less revenue going in there.
Thank you.
So
Mr. Chairman, one
Yes.
question I have about the resolution that was passed. Now, that just for your all's benefit, the resolution's in your packet. That only includes the 250,000, moving 250,000 from sanitation to paving. And the email I sent you guys Friday after the Solid Waste Board meeting, where I withdrew my recommendation for the 350 because of their concerns. That's not included. That passed committee, but that's not in that resolution.
Yes,
Just wanted
sir.
to make sure that was clear.
So what we've done today, what we just did is add 250,000 to the capital highway projects. Now, in our next amendment, we will reduce the garbage sanitation to pay for that one.
Correct.
Yes.
Any other discussion? If not, let's vote to motion, please.
F, 1, 11, yea, 0, nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 6F2, Budget Amendment Fund 116, Garbage and Sanitation Department for 250,000. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? If not, let's vote to motion, please.
F2, 11 yea, 0 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 6G, the EMPG ARPA grant application. And I will put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? If not, let's vote to motion, please.
Item 6G, 11 yea, 0 nay.
The motion is approved.
Chairman, before we leave Finance Committee, could I ask that we consider something for our next meeting possibly? The mayor had to relook. He withdrew his proposal to use $350,000. I just wondered if we could look at replacing that same $350,000 with fund balance to allow the highway and road, the 1.8 that we had discussed.
We'll put that on the agenda for the August meeting,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
okay? Thank you, Chairman Cutshaw. Chairman Cutshaw of the Real Estate Committee, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. Item 7A, the August tax sales list. It's been placed before you. I will put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? If not, let's vote to motion, please.
Seven A, 11 yea, 0 nay.
The motion is approved. Thank you, Chairman Cutshaw. We're going to recognize you again as the chairman of the Personnel Committee.
Item 8A, reclassification of supervisory positions. And I will put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? If not, let's vote to motion, please.
Item 8A, 10 yea, 1 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 8B, weapons policy. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? If not, let's vote to motion, please.
Eight B, 11 yea, 0 nay.
The motion is approved. Thank you, Chairman Cutshaw. At this time, Chairman Tim Goins of the Public Service Committee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Thank you, Chairman. 9A, Resolution 2217, a resolution to amend Article 5, definition section of the Hamblen County zoning regulation to include recreational vehicles, and I put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Commissioner D. Smith, you're recognized.
We're wanting to stop all this campers and people putting them in their backyards, but what's the difference in putting a camper in your backyard and let somebody live in it as to take one out to Cherokee Park and live in it year-round out there, which we have those at Cherokee Park. People live there year-round. What's the difference in living at Cherokee Park and living in my backyard?
One is it's a campground when you go out to Cherokee Park.
What's the
It's
difference?
It's a campground. It's defined as a campground.
So you can get by with whatever at the campground.
Whatever regulations they have out there, yeah.
Well, we've been out there and looked at that place. I mean, some of it's a disaster.
Yes, it is. Some
You're
of them
one
are.
of them that
But it
looked
is,
at it.
but it is being cleaned up. It is being, we're moving everybody out. Put some pads out there and stuff like that. You've been here, you should know that. You've heard it.
All right.
And then, we're gonna move some people back in. Out there.
Next thing I got, we had a map that showed all these campers. Where did that come from?
Tina?
Did you get all of them in the county, or just hunt and pick? Because I've got a camper at my house that's hooked up to sewer, electric, and water. It's not on your list.
Well, these are based on her complaints, correct, you said?
All about complaints. What about people that live in the city of Morristown that's got RVs, that's got sewer and water and electric all hooked up to theirs? Did we go into the city and look at these?
We can't.
One of them, well, he's not here, but one of them has got his hooked up. I've got mine hooked up. I've had it hooked up for 15 years. When I quit camping on North Cherokee, I brought it to the house. I put it in my septic system. I've got water, I've got gas, I've got everything on it. And the way I look at it, if I've got somebody that comes to my house and I don't have room in my house for people to stay there, I'll put them in that camper. Whether that breaks the rules or not.
Put that one on your list, Tina.
Mr. Neesmith?
My opinion, Tina, and everybody, it's better to put a person that can't do any better in a camper as long as he's got sewer. I'm not for letting sewer run out on the ground. I don't care if he's got electricity. And water doesn't really make a difference. If you ain't gonna have water, you're not gonna have sewer. But I just can't. Is it better to kick him out of that thing and put him under a bridge somewhere to sleep?
Commissioner Stepp, you're recognized.
Mr. Neesmith, I'm glad you got water and electricity hooked up to that camper. I appreciate that. But how many times have we turned around and got complaints from people who don't have it hooked up?
I agree.
Nothing. And this is a huge problem that can be monitored better than what we've been doing.
We can't pick and choose. We just gotta make a rule, cover everything.
Okay, Commissioner Hahn, you're recognized.
My biggest question, and since we brought that up in committee, is the definition. You know, I've thought about that. You know, what's a camper and what's a mobile home? Because some of these campers are larger than mobile homes used to be. So I think the definition of which is going to create an issue for one thing, if you start, want to pick that. And the other thing is, my heart goes out to people that are looking for a place to reside, and I've been blessed, but there are people out there that need that. My thing is that there needs to be some teeth to the violation, if there's a violation out there. And this is something I think a couple of years ago we covered, and some people were all for it. Some people were vastly dead set against, us coming onto their property and saying, this is a mess, it needs to be cleaned up. I can see both sides of that, but with the way things are right now, and you're paying large prices for milk and gas and everything else, it is tough. It is tough, and I think then again, going back to what I said, defining what's a a camper and what's a trailer, mobile home. To me, that would be kind of difficult. But I do think we need to put some teeth into, cleaning it up. And I think that's the big thing. in my opinion, if it's hooked up to sewer, it has water, electricity, or gas, whatever you have to have, it's presentable. I don't have great heartburn about that.
I agree.
Do we-
Now, the other thing though, and I hate to interrupt, but now, you can come to the planning and zoning, and if you have a hardship case of watching over somebody, put a camper out there to watch over somebody, you can ask them, they'll give you permission to have that. It's just not difficult.
Commissioner Eckert, you are recognized.
I kind of agree with Commissioner Hahn. If people lose, there's people that lose everything they own, all the time, and if they're trying to build back and they have a recreational vehicle on a piece of property that looks good, the property looks good, if they're hooked to the sewer and have water to it, there's no health hazard, then I don't see why that should be an issue. They ought to be given time to build back and, eventually get a home.
But the thing of it is, if they have a camper, okay, and they're trying to build back, take that camper, put it on a lot somewhere down at Cherokee Park, wherever the camper lot is, and go ahead and build your stuff back while and live there while you're waiting.
Well, and some of those people hypothetically might not be able to pay for the property and the rent at a park. So anyway, sometimes we need to think more about people and what they go through. It's, to me, it's just not right.
Commissioner Cutshaw, you're recognized.
Yes, this is an issue, especially in my district, that's shown up quite frequently. I'm all for somebody helping somebody and helping them to sustain life. That's not a problem. The problem is most people do not operate in that regard. It's disregard to your neighbors. And maybe there is regulations, but it seems to me we've not been able to, the state's overrun. We don't have environmental concerns when we know of environmental concerns. This is a tough question. I don't want anybody to be homeless because of it, but on the same hand, it might cause somebody to do better. When you have septic and, again, in the proper setting, if they have the electric and the water and the septic hookup, it doesn't bother me that someone lives in a camper, but our zones, once we've created zoning, we don't have zones to allow for campers. Somebody said, what's the difference between a mobile home and a camper? There is a difference. It's how it's manufactured. It's manufactured for permanent residence. A camper is not. A camper is not. Mr. Neesmith, you mentioned your camper. You're not living in it. You're allowing somebody to use it for recreational or temporary. That's a different setup. What we're talking about is a permanent setup, people pulling on the side of the road, doing whatever they want. And Mr. Commissioner Eckert, you're right. I don't want to run somebody out. But on the same hand, what about the neighbors? And you're affecting them by not following regulations. This is not to prevent, this is to sustain our county and uplift the county. This is not to take away a right. This is to help.
Commissioner Doty, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've heard everybody talking about the conditions and everything. We already have property maintenance regulations out there that can control the conditions around these units and such if they're enforced. I don't want to put anybody out. In my neighborhood, we have homeless walking through numerous times a day. It's just constant. And if these people had somewhere to live, I'm sure they wouldn't want to live under the overpass at 25E. So with that, I would like to amend this resolution to state if these recreational vehicles have power, water, and are hooked to a legitimate septic system, that they be removed from this.
We have.
I second that amendment.
I got it.
We have a motion to amend. It has been seconded that if the vehicle has been correctly installed that it be removed from this list. Is there any discussion on the amendment? If not, then
I've got discussion, yes, sir.
what?
Tim, you're number one, are you?
Yeah, you know, the thing with it, you're right. Between the camper and the mobile home, there's a nomenclature on that thing that will tell you it's a camper. It's not a mobile home, it's a camper. And the thing with this, I don't like, if someone coming to our county to check this county out, to put a factory in it or to live here or whatever. I hate for them to go down a real nice subdivision, man, look at those homes. And look at these ratty old campers all over this town. Because once we pass it, they're going to pop up all over. And I just think it's wrong.
The second thing is we have zoning already in place, and you're going to circumvent the zoning if you allow this. Right now, we do not have zoning for campers. We'll have to go back and amend zoning. You'll have to do something. And then there's the issue of how do you charge when building codes doesn't allow living in a temporary structure such as a camper. It's opening up a huge difference. I'm not saying Commissioner Doty or anybody, I'm saying this is something we can look at and work on. I'd like to hear the attorney's opinion, if you would, sir. Could you speak to this?
Well, it is a tough decision, it's a tough problem. There are many more people living in campers in the county than have been complained about. I think we all know that. I have my own personal feelings about the situation, and they lean more toward people having a place to live, but also am very, very concerned about health issues that we have with those mobile homes, and particularly people who are living and having to look at and worry about either the drugs or the sewage on the ground or any number of other problems that we've associated with some of these campers, not all of them, certainly not definitionally.
Every check.
It's something that either I or my successor are going to have to enforce. That's a big part of the whole calculation here. Right now, initially, I can see a really big problem in starting enforcement of this in this particular economic environment. I'm just speaking my mind. I'm not talking about the law here. The law is we have zoning. The law is these people are violating zoning. They're violating our building codes as we are here tonight, because we have a southern building code that says if these places have not been inspected, have been stick built, they've been manufactured with serial numbers, they've been safety approved for fire. And when we're talking about hooking up to electricity, folks, we're talking about hooking up with an extension cord? Are we talking about putting a meter on it? What are we talking about? Are we talking about putting your sewer line into a septic system? Or are we putting it into the city sewer? Or a sewer that's provided outside of the city, even in the county? I mean, those are questions that need to be, I think, probably answered, certainly at some point, whether it's now or next week or next month. But it is, it's difficult because there's strong emotions on both sides of this, and I like Mr. Holmes, can see both sides of this scenario. That description of RVs is all encompassing, really. Unless you're a mobile home or a modular home with a serial number from a manufacturer, if you are in a camper, whether it be a truck camper with, over the back of your truck bed, or you have a pull-behind camper, or you have an RV, that definition is all encompassing. And it's basically it says we do not want people living in these types of structures. And the motivating factor here, folks, I think, has always been safety. It's not necessarily been because that makes my neighborhood look bad, or because that, we don't want this type of people here or there. It's been safety. And we all know how quickly a camper will burn up. Camper, if you ever seen a camper burn, man, gone in a flash. And if there are people in a camper that burn in, I suspect it won't be good. But it's certainly legal, what we have. It's certainly all-encompassing. It will be a challenge to enforce because we do have so many. You know, if we start saying we're going to enforce this against all the campers in the community, then that will really be something to do. But it can be done. Question of, does this body have the will to do that? That's why we're here tonight, I think.
Right, yeah.
Is there any more discussion on the amendment?
I've got one for Tina. Tina, if I'm building a house, I can live in a camper.
As long as you have an open building permit.
I beg your pardon?
As long as you have an open building permit and your home is under construction.
Okay. Does it have to have a sewage? Did it have to have a sewer line to it?
A lot of times they just go ahead and hook it to septic, but we can't.
We don't know.
We can't require a camper.
It's not required. My son lived in my camper for a year and a half while he built his house. His house is in the city. The camper is in the county. So I think we've got some loose ends here, people.
Wayne, like in Scott's situation, that's taken care of in this. I mean, like in the very last sentence, it talks about recreational vehicles can be used as a temporary residence of the owner and family during the construction of such owner of a permanent residence, but only during such time as the building permit for the residence is in force and no certificate of occupancy has been issued. So that situation's taken care of in here.
It's taken care of, but it still doesn't say you've got to have a sewer. You've got to have water and you've got to have electric. You've got to have a drop cord running from your barn out to it, and that'd be legal.
Okay, do we have any other discussion, excuse me, on the amendment? Call the roll, please. You're going to vote yes for the amendment, no against the amendment.
Repeat the amendment, please.
Okay, Mr. Doty, you want to repeat it?
Yes, sir, I will. I want to amend this to state that we remove or add to this that if recreational vehicles as defined in this are hooked to proper electric, water, and sewage, then they should be permitted.
All right, everybody understand what the amendment is? Mr. Neesmith, second.
I second it.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Okay.
Are we talking about, if that situation is the case, are we talking about permanently? Are we talking about for X period of time? I mean, what are we talking about time-wise? And I think that needs to be clear. That needs to be clear in here.
I don't see an open issue as far as time. If we got the zoning that says property maintenance, it doesn't say about a home, it says property maintenance. And if they're living there, that's a residence.
We don't have zoning to support this, though.
At property maintenance, there's some places in the county it doesn't apply to.
But that's farmland, if I'm not mistaken,
Well,
Mayor.
any land that's not been subdivided.
Right.
Good.
What the commission has passed is that the property maintenance code is enforceable in subdivisions.
Don't we also have property maintenance for outside? It was just we made it stricter inside subdivisions. There is nothing for outside of a subdivision for the county.
And currently, we use A1 designation for single-wide mobile homes. And, you know, you would fall into that as well if you do this. So some of these folks are in R2.
Well, we're saying, though, that it's not legal for them to live there anyway. What's the use of this? And the thing was brought up about the safety. that camper's gonna burn just as fast in a campground as it does sitting on somebody's private property. Although in a campground, you've got another one that's 20 feet away.
Mr. Chairman, this deals with the zoning regulations, not property maintenance. This issue is a zoning issue.
Yeah.
Not property
Yeah.
maintenance.
And right now, it's my understanding, we don't have any regulations at all. Am I correct? All right, call the roll, please.
Jeff Aker,
Yes.
Chris Cutshaw,
No.
Thomas Stody.
Yes.
Tim Goins,
No.
Bobby Hahn,
Yes.
Tim Horner,
Yes.
Eileen Armstrong,
Yes.
Mike Reed,
Yes.
Wayne Newsmith,
Yes.
Howard Shipley.
Yes.
Jim Stepp.
No.
It's 9 yeas, two nays.
What's that?
That's 8 yeas. I'm sorry,
Okay.
3 nays.
Eight's what we need, so the amendment passes, and we're back to the original motion as amended. Is there any discussion on the original motion as amended?
Yeah, read that motion off to us, Howard. Somebody read that original motion. Make sure we got it right.
You talk about
You
the
got a
original vote, you
copy
got it
of
right
it,
there.
Wayne?
But I'll read it again. Resolution 22-17, a resolution to amend Article 5, the definition section of the Hamblen County zoning regulations to include recreational vehicles.
So we're back to that motion, and we passed the amendment, so we need to vote no on the regular motion.
Well, yes or no? Well, I'm not
Yes or no?
supposed to be, I'm the chair, I'm not supposed to be discussing.
If you vote no, Wayne, then it kills the entire motion, and then the amendment is not passed as well, so it just shuts the whole thing down.
There's something on that amendment that you mentioned, Thomas, about the sewer and everything.
Yes.
There's gonna have to be some groundwork done on this, about the sewer.
No, you just
How's
opened
it
the
hooked
can
up?
of worms,
Is it
what you
hooked up
did.
to their own private tank? Can it move into your house sewer line?
You just opened up a can of worms, what you
Well,
did.
that's what it takes.
Any other
That's what it
discussion?
takes.
Yes for the original.
Let's vote the motion, please.
I think so too.
Wayne, you
Commissioner
vote?
Neesmith.
You gonna vote? Or abstain?
The amendment kills it.
No, this adds to it, it changes it. It adds verbiage to allow those that have proper electricity, water, and sewage hooked up.
Can hook it up, okay.
10 yeas, 1 nay.
The motion is approved, as amended.
As amended.
Thank you, Chairman. 9B, dangerous dog amendment. Put that in form of a motion.
No, I'm not either.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry. I got it.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? If not, let's vote the motion.
Item 9B, 11 yeas, 0 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 9C, surplus items from circuit court. I put that in form of a motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? If not, let's vote the motion.
Item 9C, 11 yeas, 0 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 9D, surplus items at the Cherokee Park. Put that in form of motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? If not, let's vote the motion, please.
Item 9D, 11 yea, 0 nay.
Thank you, Chairman Goins.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. At this time, we would entertain comments, non-agenda items only. If you have comments you want to share with the body that's not on the agenda, you can come to the podium at this time. You have 3 minutes to do so.
What I want to know is, you passed the amendment. Who's going to enforce the law? I mean, that's a good thing that y'all did to make sure they got sewer, water, and electricity. But there's a lot of them that don't have it. And they're letting it run everywhere, even out in Road Junction. They've been doing it for years. Who's going to enforce it? It's not being enforced out in Road Junction. More power to them, whoever enforces it.
Sir.
Plan has to enforce it.
Todd Fromeyer, 1212 Hodge Drive. I thought it was interesting on that last one, there's like 7 of y'all that aren't going to be here after September 1st. It might have been good to let the 1, 2, 3, 4, and other new commissioners handle that very contentious issue. So I'm going to talk about abuse of power in Hamblen County government. As I'm sure you know, I'm the chair of the Hamblen County Democratic Party. I'm also a candidate for office. I certainly don't have a problem playing the partisan game. But that being said, I have some questions about where the line is between partisan politics and how the local government is being run. So recently, as you know, we had a 4th of July celebration. Now, if you saw the advertising for the event leading up, you saw that the limited group of sponsors for the event included the campaigns of Rick Eldridge, Bill Britton, Teresa West, and Scotty Long. Now, I saw the ads, and that the big sponsor for the event was the Terry Law Firm. So, you know, with that info, I wondered if that meant the Terry Law Firm was putting the event on. And, you know, they're Republican donors, and so maybe they just chose to let those campaigns be sponsors for the event. But then I saw the financial disclosure for Mayor Britton, and it clearly shows that his campaign paid $600 to sponsor the event. And to whom did he pay that amount? Well, it says he paid it to the Hamblen County government. I checked Teresa's and Scotty's financial disclosures, and it shows that they also paid $600 for the sponsorship. So now I'm confused. Was this event being put on by the Terry Law Firm or by Hamblen County government? A little more confused because Bill Britton is the chief executive of Hamlin County government. In so many ways, he speaks for the people of Hamblen County because he's the mayor. But here he is seeming to be dealing as the government with his campaign to get reelected. Where's the check on that kind of insider dealing? Seems like it ought to come from County Commission. That's where the check should come from. So I have a couple of questions for you to ponder. Did Bill Britton set the amount of the sponsorship at $600 out for the community to solicit the funds to put on that event? Was it Bill Britton or someone else in his office that did that solicitation? Did that person work for Bill Britton? I guarantee you that if I was given the opportunity to have my campaign sponsor the event, the July 4th event, I would have paid the $600. I think the other Democratic candidates would as well. But I can guarantee you no one approached me in my capacity as chair or as candidate to sponsor the event. But I want to make sure you understand this isn't just a Democrat-Republican thing, because I feel certain that if given the opportunity, Republican Donald Shelton would have also paid the $600 to sponsor the event alongside his opponent, Rick Eldridge. So I'd ask the commission to ponder what really happened here. Maybe it's not a partisan issue at all. It's really just about political power. These elected officials, specifically Mayor Britton, use their power as part of the government to help themselves get elected, not just at the expense of Democrats, but also at the expense of other Republicans for their own personal power so that they can stay in office. I guess I'd ask this commission to consider whether you think that's okay.
Appreciate it. Anyone else who wishes to address the commission?
Edna Green, 4981 Kent Road. Mr. Fromer brought up a good point. Some of you will be leaving, thank God, in September. And I do look forward to seeing some of you go. Some of you that are staying, I thank God for you. There's some of you that will be leaving that we will miss the backbone and the gracious attitude that you have treated some of us taxpayers with. And you need to know there's a big thank you there for you. But I would hope, as a newly elected commissioner that will take her seat in September for District 14, that this commission would look at changing some things. In order for each district to be represented fairly, some of your committees should have all 14 commissioners on them. The Budget Committee, Finance Committee. You just need to wake up. This appointing your buddies to certain committees for more money, whatever, it needs to change. All districts need to be represented. And some of you commissioners sitting on this front row, I want to tell you, thank you for your vote tonight. I'm thankful for you, okay? I express my opinion when I don't like what you do, and I think I need to express thank you when I do like what you do. So thank you for standing up for the people. But you just need to consider some things. I am hoping that when September comes, that there is a great change in the way that this commission sets its business. I am hoping that the new commissioners can put things on the agenda for the sake of Hamblen County citizens. In the past, they've been overlooked, sideswiped, and tried to be silenced, and I am one of those. So please, for the sake of the Hamblen County citizens, for you that are going to be staying, please think about it. For you that are be going, thank of you. We will be glad to see some of you go. We thank God for that.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Linda Noe, Joe Stevens Road. I appreciate the actual discussion you had. I think you came to a reasonable conclusion, although it could have been put back into, planning or a committee or something like that, because all these things suddenly came up, which, did not come up so much when you had your committee meeting. I would like to echo something that was mentioned about let the next commission handle some of these things. Many of you will be on that next commission. Some of you will be replaced. But just like the Rules Committee, Mr. Shipley said, we're not going to look at any rules. We'll let the next commission do that. Well, maybe you should be doing that with the roads. I think what Mr. Cutshaw mentioned really should have been the entire funding for the roads. Go to the general fund. It's the one that is flush with money. Absolutely flush. Why are you going and robbing the sanitation fund? Why were you even thinking about taking money and making the solid waste board, which Mr. Horner sits on, making it pay for land when the interlocal agreement, if anybody reads it, says that's not the way it's done? And that's what happened at the meeting. The other thing is like the reclassification of supervisory positions. That should be put off for the next commission. That should have been done during the budget process. Why do you pass something on June 27th and then come back 2 weeks later and somebody's saying, let's change these people and spend another $7,000, $7,500? I don't think that just suddenly came up in the 10 days or 2 weeks between June 27th and your July 11th meeting. So let's get back with rules. Like when this amendment came up, it was like, what are we voting on? There was good discussion, but then somebody needs to come back and explain what we're voting on, particularly when there's been an amendment. Robert's rules provide some guidance on that. So please consider going back, reversing the $250,000. It doesn't matter. You can reverse it just the same way you took it from the sanitation for paving. You can put it back, and then you can pull money from the general fund. Because why are we being taxed? Why is that fund building, building, and building while we're being taxed and taxed and taxed. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
First of all, I'd like to thank you guys that are on this commission for deciding not to throw, increasing the wheel tax on us in one of your most recent meetings. That's incredibly impressive, so thank you for that. Just a few comments tonight. If we are to restore confidence in the leadership of the county, we've got to make fundamental changes in county government. I think we'll all agree to that. As has been witnessed over the last 12 years at least, there is a perception, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but there is a perception that the machine that enjoys power fails to serve the majority of our people anymore. And as one of the largest counties in our state without any kind of anti-nepotism policy, you guys know I've asked you to look into the possibility of adopting one before, any type of public employee performance standards or a strategy for eliminating unnecessary tasks being carried out by county government employees, myself and a lot of us feel that it's time to focus on public sector modernization and cost savings. And it's important that our leaders, some of you who will be returning on the next commission, including some of the new ones, well, basically everyone, should pledge to end the spirit of perceived government secrecy. And one step that you can take in actually doing that is to put the county's finances online in real time. I know you post the budget there, I know you post expenditures there, but put them online in real time. Cities such as Atlanta and Charlotte have done this. Metro Nashville is also beginning to take that step toward modernization because this is our government. It's your government as well, and they are our tax dollars, your tax dollars at work. So we all really deserve to know what's happening. With that being said, I know that I guess August will be some of your last commission meeting, and I know that we have at times been at odds, a few of us, and that's normal. We're in this political thing together, I guess. But know that from the bottom of my heart, at least, I do appreciate you guys coming up here, donating your time to serve on this commission. We're not always going to agree, but we are one Hamblen County, and we can all at least agree to that and work each and every day to make our county even stronger. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else who wishes to address the commission? Yes, ma'am.
Take a minute. I want to thank the commission for their discussion on the resolution about the campers. Our particular problem out where we live, we're on Bent Creek. We're all on wells out there. And we were having problems with these people that were putting campers on the property with no sewer, nothing. They were hooking up. They had no electricity. They were running generators. And there was 3 or 4 campers on this one property. The man was renting out the campers. Now, there was no sewage, nothing. And I wanted to explain that it's not just campers in your backyard if you've got a sewer and electric. I have no problem with that. But our problem out where we were was this is what was happening, and that's why I was so adamant about getting some help. Chris has helped us with this because it's running their black water on the ground, and we're on wells and we're on a creek. And I appreciate your discussion on this, and we just need to work it out. If you people have to go back and do another committee meeting, I'm all for that. But it's people like what we had that we had the problem with. And I've talked to Tina, I don't know how many times about it. And I've been here before, but I do want you to know that I do appreciate what you all have done and discussion about it instead of just gliding over it. So just remember that, people like us, it doesn't bother us about a camper if you've got one. We had a camper for years. We parked it on our property, but we never used it. It was just parked there because we didn't have it on a permanent spot anywhere because we traveled with it. So our neighbors are, like I said, we're all on wells, so just take that into consideration. And I think, these people should abide by zoning. And, just take into consideration that we're on a well and we're on a creek. And that black water is running into the creek, Bent Creek. And so It's bad enough we have the cows waiting around in it, but, you know, we don't need the human waste. So I thank you for your time.
Do we have anyone else who wishes to address the commission? If not, I want to call to the commissioners the announcements. You can read those for yourself, and then also remind you to please leave your notebook in the basket on the way out. Thank you. We stand adjourned.